Okay, we should be starting up now on Facebook, waiting for the video to kick in for a little bit. But we are now streaming live at this point. So again, everybody, hi, I'm Mr. Black, AMS principal.
I'm Mr. Thomas, the assistant principal.
And we will do our best to go ahead and field any questions that people may have, and we'll go from there. So let's do a quick audio video check. Is this in, if anyone's in the comments or whatever else, are you able to hear and see us okay? Of course, there's a 20-second lag from when we're recording this before it comes through, so that'll be a little bit till that comes through.
Yep, we're good. I have Bailey saying yes, she can hear.
Okay. Sounds good. So we've got that on it. Thank you. Okay, I've got some yeses, seeing here. Good, good, good. So we are live. We're working. Good to see everybody. Well, let's go ahead and before we get into the questions, let me just sort of lead off with, I guess, the lead piece of information. So we got notification, as with everybody today, that Governor Evers has put forth a statewide mask order for people indoors. That'll be starting first part of August, and that'll be going through the end of September for the current order. And so certainly that means we'll be starting the school year under that. And that right now is all the information I can really give you on it. We've learned that through the same channels that everyone else did. And we have yet to come together as an administrative team to sort of say, here's exactly how that impacts, but just knowing that we'll be working with face masks in schools for the beginning part of it. And that's going to be part of what we're going to, but as far as routines and how all those things work, that's going to need to play out as it goes. So want to acknowledge that big element that we had a lot of questions last time around Facebook and that about face masks, and there'll be elements there, but we'll continue to update you. We'll probably have more information on that a week from now than we do today to say exactly how that'll play out procedurally. So any thoughts on that, Mr. Thomas?
Just the same thing. I was reading through what was written, and like I said, everybody else gets the same information as we come together and develop what it will look like at the school. As always, consulting the people that we need to talk to. We'll be informing everyone what that looks like as soon as it is available.
All right. So, and again, if people have various questions, feel free to go ahead and put those on. Before we get into the questions, I want to go ahead and highlight a couple things that are coming up. Now, first of all, we had some questions last time, and we've been working very hard over the last couple of days to give a little guidance on what band, choir, general music will look like. One of the notes to this is that we're going to be having the summer band at AMS in 6th grade. Mr. Glenzer always does some band lessons starting about mid part of August, and those will continue. Now, those band lessons will be held outside to keep things much more safe. We've actually gotten some guidance from the Wisconsin group of music educators who had given us some really great research as well as recommendations about how to work with that we're building around. One of those simply is, first of all, be outside as much as you can. And we'll be doing that for choir and band. And we'll be starting that for the band sessions in a couple weeks. Some of those when if the weather is bad and it moves indoors. Now, please note those summer sessions are already going to be short. They're sectional. People are learning to play a trumpet, so just the people who are trumpets are going to come at one time. If you learn to play the drums, you'll just come with the drummers at one time. And so those will be groups that they'll already be small. There'll be social distance outside. When we're outside doing that, masks are not necessary. Now, as we move inside, masks will be necessary. We'll have those available if you don't have any yourself. Now, as this plays out for band instruments, the direction we were given from the Wisconsin music educators is to go with a face mask with a little slit in it. And so that is something that we'll be providing and working with. And others type of things for music instruments, putting like a mask over the end of a bell of the brass instruments, or even a clarinet or a flute. Or there's ways that you can limit the transmission of aerosols through your breath. They're very small particles. And so we'll be taking those steps. We'll have more information for you as you go. But the main thing you need to know right now is our summer lessons will be a go, and we'll have safety procedures in place for that. So I will leave off talking here. Anything you want to go ahead and note, or we'll look for any comments or questions that come?
So we did have a couple comments that are coming through right now. One of them is, with the information today, is it possible we'll start the school year online? Like we said, we just received information. We have yet to come together and as administrative staff. But remember, at the middle school, on our kind of setup, our green, our yellow, and our red, in both green and yellow, we're able to have the students at school. The green is as close to as it used to be. The yellow is where we're able to still utilize the space in our building, socially distanced. And then the red would be that direction we receive from the health department, or people that would say we'd have to go to a more distance learning. So as they talk about the use of masks, it doesn't affect our green and our yellow as we've structured it for this upcoming year. Another question, and I did find the answer on this one, cold lunch. So I checked with our food service managers and through the DPI. There is no issue that we can see with students bringing in a cold lunch. So if you are a cold lunch kid, feel free to bring in your cold lunch, and it would be more than welcome at the middle school.
Yep, and we're starting to make connections with our food service to be able to sort of plan out the other details on that as it comes. As far as a question from last week is, will they be prepackaged lunches and those type of things? We're going to have some more information as those trickle through, but that's an area of focus. Okay, anything else?
Yes, is the new mandate going to be enforced, meaning all kids will be required to wear masks in class? Once again, before we jump in and say yes, no, our admin team is going to be getting together to talk through these things. With anything else, if it is a directive for the state, as we are public education, we will follow the guidelines that are provided to us. So that is how we will approach it. Details to come as we're able to sort through it as well.
And specific details will develop on that front. Okay. I don't see any other questions that come on that. And so one thing I do want to highlight, similar to like the high school meeting that they did recently, I'd like to go ahead and just take a moment and draw people's attention to some of the resources that our school district has put out. And so to go ahead and start out, I'm going to do a quick screen share right now over to our district webpage. This is nacoosasd.net. And so for this, we'd like to draw your attention to, please, when you come to the main page, please scroll down and you'll see under Connect with Us, you'll see the second one down is COVID-19 coronavirus support. We're working to make this a one-stop shop for as much of your information as you can. And so one note, can you see it in the upper right-hand corner where it says school reopening information videos? As we're doing these videos, we're linking them here. So they're archived on YouTube. Not everybody has Facebook access or even wants Facebook access. And so if I click through on one of these, that'll pull up, like what you're seeing right now is going to be converted to YouTube and then be archived here. So you'll be able to go through for the various buildings that. A couple things to be paying attention to is that, just moving down the page, if you are interested in learning from home and you're saying that right now I've got some concerns health-wise, or also that my student was very successful with that and I want to continue. If you want an online option, our WISE Academy in the district is closed for enrollment, but AMS, for parents of AMS students, we're offering basically much the same things that we're doing with that. And so we'll have a teacher assigned and work through an online curriculum. If you're interested in more information about that, click through here. You'll notice it says, please go ahead and please email me, and definitely please fill out our online interest survey. And so I am answering everything that's in my email on this. If I talk with you on the email, I'm going to ask you to come back and still fill out the online interest survey. So it's probably a good place to start. And so I'm going through the online interest survey right now. I've gotten up to everybody who's put there, except for I've left a message at least for all but 2 families at this point. I'm pretty much up with people. So that is our preferred ish. If you're interested in exploring our learning at home option, that's the way you go about doing that. So also a couple things to point out that were sent out on Parent Square from the district is that the if you're interested in riding the bus this year, we're asking that you go ahead and the way for signing, you need to go on here and click on the registration to ride bus option. So click that, fill out your information. So we're starting the process of planning out our routes and those type of things. And so this is the place for bus rides. This is the place where you start with that. And then the last thing I want to draw your attention to is also right here. Please click here to see our plan and supporting frequently asked questions. And so we've laid out, Mr. Thomas and I have already referred to red, yellow, green. What does that mean? Well, we've summarized that in one spot right in here. There are the learning at home options you can see more of. And then it has just a bunch of questions and frequently asked questions that come through here. And so right now we update this all the time. Right now it's at 12 pages. If there's some questions that you have on how we're going to address some things, they're going to be right in here. So just to recap, on our district webpage, if you go to a coronavirus thing, we've got a bunch of links and a bunch of information that are right here.
All right. I'll take a couple here. One of the questions was, again, will there be still be fall sports? As of today, we are slated for having fall sports with WIA guidelines. A couple of that are affected. Well, they were all affected slightly, but football, soccer, and volleyball have practice start dates of September 7th, which is a couple weeks later than usual, especially at the high school. Cross country and girls golf, which we don't have at the middle school, start August 24th as their first practice date. The WIA, which NYA, the Nakusa Youth Athletics, we follow that as well. So we mirror the high school a lot, has guidelines on how many practices need to occur, how much break needs to be in between. So for football, starting on the September 7th date, theirs is the 23rd, but it's on a 12-day. We might be able to do one on the 22nd, which would fall on a Tuesday and still fall within those guidelines. Soccer and volleyball also have practice needed. It's tough to go into competitions without any practice, but they will have minimum set practices that will need to be attended before they can do any of the competitions.
Okay. Let me field the one. We question, if I have a child that is sick, do other children need to stay home too? And that question is, I'd say if they are, that process of what they need to do, I'd say use your best judgment on this. If they've got a cold and it's sniffles or those type of things of something that's not likely related to COVID areas, pretty much send them, we're asking that if they're not exhibiting cold symptoms or those type of things, that doesn't exclude them from coming. However, we're asking people to play this conservatively. If you feel that somebody is at risk and that they're likely coming down with something, it's probably better to make the conservative call. One thing we're doing this year, as noted earlier, is we're having online, there's going to be an online component such as using Schoology and putting so much of our lessons online, even when we're at yellow and even when we're in green, to at much higher degree than we have in years past. And so it's still able to go ahead and send material home. In the past, the question was, if I'm home, please go ahead and place a phone call, which get the information to you there. We're not going to be 100% great at this starting the school year, but we're going to get better at loading up our assignments online and be able to support students if they're staying home. We're understanding that people are going to need to be sick more often than normal. We're going to be calling that close. And so if you're worried and you think it could be something, it's easier to play it safe. But those guidelines that's pretty much a general guideline, not a hard and fast one. Anything you do want to add to that, Mr. Thomas?
Nope. Well, that question did come up in our FAQ section. And as Mr. Black stated, if your child is symptomatic, yes, then please keep them home. If a sibling is not symptomatic, as he said, play it conservatively, but if they're not symptomatic, then they can come to school.
Okay. Truancy rules changing. That's all yours, Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, so with truancy, that's always been kind of a difficult one for people to understand, that they have 10 days that they can miss school in a school year with notifications as per the state regulations. As the state is sorting through everything else, I'm sure that they will be coming up with other guidelines on how truancy will be handled. Once again, as Mr. Black said, if we're playing it conservative and we're in contact with each other, the communication piece is always first and foremost the necessary part. It's easier to work with family, to know the circumstances, to work through that. As far as does it look exactly like last year's truancy guidelines, DPI has not said yes or no, but with everything else, they have to understand as well what it will look like. So they'll probably come up with some modifications as well.
And last year, towards the end of the day, end of the year, we were basically given direction from DPI that we were not going to be like if somebody is worried about coming and they were sick, certainly we had to, truancy was totally different. We're waiting on guidelines, but the intention is to be able to help you make a judgment call, what is best for the health of your children. And so we'll as we learn more on that, we'll push that out. Do you need masks to be donated? Great question. I would say we'd say yes, by all means. We are certainly we're planning to the area to be able to have at least 3 masks per student. But I'll tell you what, right now, sometimes a student, if one mask has polka dots versus something just sort of a blank thing, that matters to an average middle schooler every now and then. And if we have a variety of masks to be able to be there, we'll have that. We had just towards the end of last year, we had a parents of AMS student donate a number of masks that I was the beneficiary. I got a purple polka dot one that I still hang on to that I love. And we've got various ones that are there. So if you're interested in pulling together and donating some masks, we'd be very grateful for it. And certainly we'll put it in the rotation for students to be able to use. I don't know what kind of, do you have any fashion requests yourself, Mr. Thomas? Do you trend towards polka dots or
I trend towards chevrons and squares, grays and blacks.
Okay, maybe we'll get a unicorn one out there. We'll see. Okay, great question. What about your special needs kids or kids with sensory issues who are unable to wear masks? That is one of the areas that, I was reading through the FAQs of the Governor Evers' health area that he went ahead and talked about, and there he talks make some exceptions on it. That's one of the areas that we'll be discussing. Again, I can't give anything authoritative because our administrative team has not come through to be able to work out our guidelines, what they will be. But I'll make sure that question is in our rotation and we make sure we get that discussed.
And I know that one has been brought up with our school nurse, Mrs. Niprath, and our director of pupil services, Mr. Grill. They have been working with the people that make that decision as to whether it's restrictive, whether it's necessary, whether it is something that needs to happen with students who have special needs. And they're working through that, and they'll pass it along to us, and then we'll in turn get it out.
But I anticipate that in those cases, certainly that'll be in consultation with the parents. We'll be talking about needs and what's the best for each of the students. And so we'll have policies, but certainly there's going to be the best policy is one with communication and supporting the needs of the student. And you know your students better than we do. And let's work together on that. Okay. Any other ones we didn't catch or?
At the moment, I think we're caught up with the questions that have been posted.
All right. So let's see. You bet. Well, the question out here, will there be temperature screening on a daily basis? Who will be doing it? let's put that one on hold together with the other ones. Together with the masks and the temperature screening, that is, those specific routines are ones that we'll be able to provide more of an update on at a future point. So that routine is, I'll just put that one on hold. We'll talk more about that one in future. Is that fair to say, Mr. Thomas? Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, as we work through this, a lot of things that happen, we get our information, we work with it, and then we get new information, and then we work with that. And so we don't want to put out, yes, we're doing this, no, we're not doing that, and keep flip-flopping back and forth. So we want to be able to get to a point where we can state, this is what it will look like at our school. And with that, we as always need to wait for the information from health department and other sources in order for us to make that call that we can then pass along to you.
So that is in the work. We are being discussed, but let's just say that piece of information about the exact details of that are not ready for prime time enough that we're going to add anything more to that at this point. So, all right. Now, one other piece of information I do want to share out. I mentioned earlier that I've been working a lot with our band teachers, our choir teachers, and those type of things. Now, this is certainly going to be something that is going to not matter while the governor's edict is in place, but I'll imagine that will expire certainly at some point. One of the things going into this school year, we've been looking at and specifically we've been taking guidance from our band and choir and music educators in Wisconsin. And their recommendation is, and as I mentioned earlier, that masks are to be worn at all times during choir, general music, and band. Basically, a big reason is anytime you're blowing or putting out air, you go into a higher risk area, not just for the matter of the large droplets that will be caught, but by large droplets, but also aerosols, very fine particulates that go into the room. And so as a result, band and choir, we're going to be asking during those classes that people will be masked. Even when our previous standard before the governor's order went into place was that we are asking people to wear masks, but if people can opt out for those. However, when it comes to band and choir and music and those type of things, that will be a mandatory because that is a higher risk area without that. And so specific for those, if you've got a concern that you're saying, I don't want my student wearing a mask, we're just letting you know that for that, and that might impact their, and that might be impact how they participate in choir or band for one of those. And so if you have specific questions about that, certainly reach out to me. But one of the guidelines that we're following and taking from Wisconsin and national standards from this is that we're asking for masks during band and music.
And along with that, the summer band program, as Mr. Black was referencing before, will start up August 10th is the date that is slated for it, according to Mr. Glenzer. So just a piece of information there. A second one, actually I have two more. One of them was, how do you sign up for online learning no matter the grade? The best thing always, if you're interested in the online side of it, is to reach out to the building principal. If it's Mr. Johnson at the high school, Mr. Black at the middle school, or Mr. Sprain at the elementary school, start with that contact piece and they can walk you through what you need to know, any questions that would need to be answered. The second piece I had, go ahead.
Let me just take that really quick. And I showed this a little bit earlier, but let me just walk through it again. NACUSASD.net, go to our webpage, go ahead and click on coronavirus support. And then right here, learning at home option, click here. And then here is the online interest survey. Here's contact information for the three principals, but please fill out the online interest survey. Those people who have emailed me without doing that, I've asked to come back here and fill that out in addition. So as long as we can demonstrate that right here, if you could just go through that and do that on the website, that will help for the sign up.
The next piece I have is, as we move forward with this, currently slated for next week, August 5th, is our picture day. As we have changed kind of the setup, how we've done pictures. Normally we did it at the start of the school. It took a few weeks for students to get their star cards. We've tried a different one this year. So on that day, Wednesday, from noon till 7, we have picture day at the middle school. Along with that, we have Nakusa Youth Athletics sports registration. So if you do have a student that is interested in a sport, feel free to come in. We'll work with you to get the registration set up. As I said last week, our registration is going to look slightly different this year. We'll fill out the forms. We will do everything we can to get it set up, but I'm not going to charge the $30 fee at this moment, just because I don't want to, depending on circumstances, do this and then turn around and have to give it up. So as the season starts, then I'll be in contact with all the families of athletes about how we will proceed with that.
And let me answer, while we're talking about picture day, let me just put that in because I've gotten the question from several people throughout the last week, is even if you're interested in doing the online schooling option, please still come in and get your picture taken. We'll be using that throughout the year, and we'll be able to find ways to use that. And also just a note is that on the 5th and the 10th, our 2 picture days that are upcoming, we're encouraging for families of incoming 4th graders. If you are, because we weren't able to do tours of the building for students who don't know what it looked like. We did a video tour, but it's never quite the same that way for a 4th grader. We're giving them a chance to be able to do a short 15-minute tour of the building. And so you can sign from Parent Square. Messages have been sent out, but just also noting we'll be doing pictures and tours for 4th graders.
Yes, and you can use Parent Square to select the time that best works for you. We'll be doing them in small blocks of time. We'll be using different staff members to give the tours, to show what the classrooms will be, where they're at, what they'll look like. And then we'll break it up so we don't have mass crowds at any one given time. So once again, use Parent Square, select the time that is for you, and that'll go straight to me so I can organize who we'll be giving tours with.
All right. Well, I think we're hitting about the half-hour mark, but there's certainly not as much new information this time, and sort of at least people have had a little more time to process. Certainly next week, this time, we're also going to have another one of these, and we'll have some more updates at that point on what the masking situation will look like after we've been able to have a week to work with that one. But just sort of looking if there's any other questions that come through Facebook that we can offer for you.
So we have that 20-second delay, so we will wait, and if we don't have any more questions, then we'll call it at that.
You could give song requests for Mr. Thomas to sing. I think, you'd be down for that, right?
You would beg for the 20-second delay to be even longer then.
Okay, we'll see what I join in.
I appreciate everybody that comes onto these. It gives us a lot of things to think about. Questions keep arising, and even we go, oh yeah, we have to think about that as well. So thank you for all the questions that you pose to us. We are trying our best. We're working very, very hard to make this the best environment for kids that we can.
All right. Again, thanks. And just echoing Mr. Thomas, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us. And the more questions you ask, the better we can serve you. And we appreciate how many people are we can tell you're invested. We are too. Let's do this together. Let's make a great experience for our children, whatever that's going to look like this upcoming year. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.